That night was a turning point for Amara Peterson. The 19-year-old had returned to her garage after the Tesla event with a mix of adrenaline and uncertainty. She had just been given a challenge by Elon Musk, one of the most influential men in the world, to transform her rudimentary creation into something that could solve a real-world problem and impress him within 30 days. The garage, though small, was where her dreams took shape. Surrounded by simple tools and scraps she collected from junkyards, Amara felt the magnitude of what lay ahead. She stared at her robot, a tangle of parts that barely managed to pick up basic objects, and thought about what Elon expected from her. "How am I going to do this?" she murmured to herself, spinning a wrench in her hands. Her mother's voice echoed from the kitchen. "Amara, come out dinner. You'll need energy for those inventions of yours." While eating silently, her mind raced. Her mother, Anna Peterson, noticed her tension. "Something wrong, sweetie?" Amara hesitated, but knew there was no point in hiding the challenge. I got an opportunity, Mom. A chance to work at Tesla." Anna's face lit up with pride. "That's amazing. When do you start?" Amara sighed. "It's not that simple. I have to create something that really impresses Elon Musk in less than 30 days. Anna placed her hand over Amara's. "You've always done incredible things with so little. Trust yourself." The next day, Amara visited the public library to research local environmental problems. She came across a report detailing the accumulation of solid waste in her community. Most people didn't know how to separate recyclable from non-recyclable waste. This not only harmed the environment, but also overburdened local workers. Amara decided she would create a robot capable of efficiently sorting trash. However, she knew she needed more resources. With an old laptop, she began watching advanced programming tutorials while drafting a list of necessary materials. Along the way, she faced critical looks from neighbors and friends who saw her dedication as a waste of time. That afternoon, hearing mockery from a group of neighborhood boys, she felt tears welling up. But she remembered the moment on stage. Elon's words, "Show me something impressive." That was exactly what she intended to do, no matter the cost. 3 days passed, and Amara had more doubts than answers. While adjusting the motors of her robot, she heard a knock on the garage door. It was Harris Miller, an elderly and reclusive neighbor who rarely left his house. He had heard about the challenge and offered to help. "I was an engineer back in the 80s. I might not know everything about AI, but motors and circuits are still my thing," Harris said, stepping into the garage. With his guidance, Amara improved the robot's mechanical movements, making it perform tasks more precisely. The two formed a friendship, and Harris became a mentor, bringing more confidence to the young woman. The days flew by, and Amara worked tirelessly. But not everything was easy. There were moments when the code failed, motors overheated, and the robot seemed uncooperative. Each failure reminded her how far she was from being ready for Tesla's stage. Meanwhile, financial struggles persisted. Amara's mother, who worked as a nurse, did her best to keep the household running, but the money barely covered the bills. Amara had to improvise. On a rainy night, she decided to dismantle old household appliances to extract usable parts. That night, the robot gained its first functional scanner. After weeks of dedication, the robot began performing its main task, identifying recyclable and non-recyclable materials. Amara recorded a video of the robot in action and sent it to Harris. "It's not perfect," she wrote. "Perfect? It's amazing. Elon will be blown away," Harris replied. But deep down, Amara knew she needed more. The deadline was fast approaching, and the fear of failing in front of Elon Musk and a global audience haunted her. One thing was certain, she wouldn't give up. With only 5 days left, Amara knew she had to make final adjustments to the robot and rehearse her presentation. Each night was shorter, and coffee became her closest ally. Her mother, concerned, reminded her to rest, but Amara just smiled. "I'll rest when I win, Mom," she said. Finally, the presentation day arrived. Dressed simply, Amara carried her robot in a box. Walking into Tesla's headquarters, she felt the weight of everyone's stares. Polished engineers and investors observed her as if she didn't belong. When her turn came, Her hand trembled as she held the microphone. 30 days ago, I was in this very room, receiving a challenge that seemed impossible. The audience fell silent, and Amara knew every word and movement would be crucial. Amara looked out at the audience. The room was packed with attentive faces, some curious, others clearly skeptical. Polished engineers, demanding investors, and journalists with their cameras waited to see if the bold teenager from a small town could deliver on her promise. Elon Musk was once again seated in the front row, his eyes fixed on her with the same challenging expression he had 30 days ago. Her heart raced, but she took a deep breath. She had rehearsed this moment dozens of times in the garage, in front of a mirror, and even with her mother's supportive words pushing her forward. But one thing was clear. This was not the garage. This was Tesla. 30 days ago, she began, her voice steady despite the slight tremor in her right hand. I stood in this room when Mr. Musk challenged me to create something that could solve a real-world problem. I went home with an idea and a commitment to prove that passion and determination can go further than any limited resources. A murmur rippled through the audience. Amara continued, her voice gaining strength. My community faces a serious waste disposal problem. Streets are littered because people don't know how to separate recyclable materials from non-recyclables. That's the problem I decided to tackle. She stepped closer to her robot, which was positioned on the demonstration table, and carefully connected it to a small, improvised control panel. The robot wasn't flashy, far from the sleek, futuristic designs Tesla was known for. But Amara knew it worked, or at least she hoped it would work at that moment. This is my smart sorting robot, Amara declared. It uses basic sensors and an AI system I developed to identify and sort waste into 3 categories: recyclable, non-recyclable, and organic. Amara stepped back, revealing 3 small bins beside the robot. A carefully arranged pile of trash sat next to it. Plastic bottles, aluminum cans, fruit peels, and scraps of paper. The silence in the room was palpable. If it works correctly, Amara said, more to herself than the audience, it can be the solution to a global problem. She pressed a button on the control panel, and the robot came to life. A soft whirring sound filled the stage as its motors hummed to life. The newly installed LED lights flickered as it scanned the first item, a plastic bottle. Slowly, as though struggling against its own mechanisms, the machine picked up the bottle and placed it in the correct bin, recyclable. A smattering of applause broke out in the audience. Amara smiled but quickly refocused. There was still more waste to process. The robot continued. An aluminum can was correctly sorted, followed by fruit peels placed into the organic bin. Each item was processed with a tense slowness, but it was working. From the corner of her eye, Amara noticed Elon Musk crossing his arms and nodding slightly. For a second, she felt triumphant. It was working, but then the robot encountered a challenge. The last item, an old, crumpled piece of paper, caused the system to stutter. The mechanical arm shook, paused, and froze. A sharp error sound emitted from the control panel. The room fell silent again, but this time with visible tension. Amara felt her face flush. She hurried to the robot, her hands moving quickly to diagnose the issue. Her mentor, Harris, had taught her how to fix minor malfunctions, but doing so in front of a live audience was a different story entirely. Not now, please, not now, she whispered, tightening screws and restarting the system. What's happening? Someone murmured from the audience. Amara ignored the whispers. Every second felt like an eternity. Finally, the system rebooted, and the robot resumed its task. The paper was scanned, identified, and placed in the correct bin. The audience erupted in applause. Amara let out a deep sigh of relief, wiping sweat from her brow. She looked over at Elon, who now had a faint smile on his face. Elon stood and walked onto the stage. The entire room followed his movements with bated breath. Amara's heart pounded again, but she held her ground. You surprised me, Amara, Elon said, his voice calm but resonant, filling the room. It's not perfect, but it doesn't need to be. What matters is that you saw a problem and had the courage to solve it. Applause rippled through the crowd again. Elon turned to the audience and continued. How many of you here could do what she did with virtually no resources? She didn't just build something functional. She identified a practical application. That is innovation. Tears welled up in Amara's eyes. This moment was bigger than anything she had ever dreamed of. Amara, Elon continued, turning back to her. You've earned my respect. I want you to come to Tesla, not just to work, but to develop this project with us. Together, let's make something that can change the world. The crowd gave a standing ovation. Stunned, Amara nodded. Thank you, Mr. Musk. I promise I won't let you down. Elon smiled. I'm sure you won't. As the applause continued, Amara felt as though she were floating. Her dream, which had begun in that small garage, was now coming to life. The challenge that had seemed impossible had become the key to a new journey. But she knew this was just the beginning. Greater challenges lay ahead, and the weight of working alongside a giant like Elon Musk was a mountain she would have to learn to climb. Amara barely slept that night. The Tesla event had been a success, but her mind wouldn't stop racing. She replayed the moment on stage over and over, hearing Elon Musk's words echo in her head. I want you to develop this project with us. It felt like a dream, but the weight of reality soon hit her. It was time to prove she deserved to be there. The following morning, her life took a sharp turn. As she tinkered in her garage, the screech of tires interrupted her concentration. A sleek black car pulled up in front of her house. Amara peeked out the window to see a man in a sharp suit stepping out, holding a leather briefcase and wearing a serious, yet cordial expression. Amara Peterson? The man asked as she opened the door. Yes, that's me, Amara replied, her throat tightening. My name is David Collins. I'm the director of projects at Tesla. Mr. Musk asked me to personally escort you to Tesla's main campus in Palo Alto to begin your transition into the company. Amara blinked, stunned. It was official. She was joining Tesla. Me? At Tesla? She stammered, almost whispering. David smiled slightly. Yes, but Tesla is a company that demands excellence, Amara. Elon sees potential in you and your project, but the real work starts now. Amara nodded, still processing everything. I'm ready. Great. Gather your things. We're leaving immediately. Hours later, Amara stepped onto Tesla's sprawling main campus. The futuristic buildings, cutting-edge laboratories, and engineers buzzing with activity made the place feel like something out of a sci-fi movie. Compared to the grandeur around her, Amara felt like an intruder in her simple clothes and battered backpack. David led her through a series of corridors, explaining protocols as they walked. Finally, they arrived at a vast lab, where a group of engineers was engrossed in a complex project that looked far beyond anything Amara could have imagined. This is where you'll work, Amara, David said, stopping at a workstation equipped with high-end computers and neatly organized tools. We'll provide you with whatever resources you need, but the responsibility is yours. Elon wants to see your robot transformed into a functional product, something scalable and impactful. Amara scanned the room. This was the big leagues. Her garage-born robot was now the centerpiece of attention in one of the most advanced labs in the world. What if I can't do it? She thought for a moment. But then Elon's words echoed in her mind. Passion and determination matter more than any degree. She placed her backpack on the bench and took a deep breath. It was time to get to work. In her first few days, Amara realized just how daunting the challenge ahead was. The engineers around her were all highly trained, many with degrees from the world's top universities. Amara, on the other hand, was self-taught, her knowledge pieced together from YouTube videos and trial-and-error experiments in her garage. Many colleagues seemed skeptical. During a break in the common room, two engineers whispered within earshot, assuming she couldn't hear. Is she really the garage girl? Elon's a genius, but sometimes he takes these inspirational projects too far. Amara gripped her coffee cup tightly, swallowing her frustration. She wanted to turn around and defend herself, but she knew the only way to silence the doubters was to deliver results. Back in the lab, she dove headfirst into her work. With Tesla's resources, she upgraded her robot sensors, integrated high-precision cameras, and began implementing advanced artificial intelligence systems to improve its sorting capabilities. Harris, her retired engineer mentor, called her nightly. "How's it going over there, kiddo?" he asked with warmth in his voice. "Tough, Mr. Harris. These people are brilliant. And me? I feel small. Don't let them intimidate you. You're there because you deserve to be. Remember, great ideas come from those unafraid to dream." His words gave her the boost she needed to keep going. Every night, Amara stayed late at the lab, revising code, adjusting parts, and running tests. Her focus was unwavering. 2 weeks later, Amara prepared for her first major demonstration for David and the senior team. The newly enhanced robot sat on the bench, now more efficient and polished than ever. She nervously explained the upgrades she had implemented. The new system can scan materials and identify them in real time with increased accuracy, she said, her voice steadier than before. The robot sprang to life. This time, it processed items faster and with nearly perfect accuracy. The room murmured in surprise as the robot demonstrated its efficiency. David smiled and nodded in approval. "You've made significant progress, Amara. Elon will be pleased. Keep this up." Amara felt a wave of pride. For the first time, she was proving to herself and everyone else that she belonged. Later that day, one of Tesla's most experienced engineers, Richard Kim, approached her. "Your project is interesting," he said, his tone neutral. "I want to help you optimize the AI system." Amara's eyes widened in disbelief. "Really? Why would you help me?" Richard shrugged. "Because you have something many engineers here lack: vision. I want to see where this goes." With Richard's expertise, Amara began integrating machine learning algorithms into the robot. The system now not only identified materials, but also learned from mistakes, becoming more efficient with every test. As the deadline for the final prototype approached, Amara's confidence was shaken by an unexpected malfunction. During a late-night test, the robot froze mid-operation. A cryptic error code appeared on the screen, something she had never seen before. "Not now. Please, not now," she whispered, frantically opening the robot's casing to investigate. The hours ticked by, and exhaustion began to take its toll. Just as Amara was on the brink of despair, Richard appeared, carrying 2 cups of coffee. "Burning the midnight oil." "Huh?" The robot froze, and Elon's expecting results tomorrow. "If I can't fix this." Richard placed 1 cup beside her and smiled. "Let's fix it together." With Richard's help, Amara worked through the night. They meticulously rewired components, debugged code, and recalibrated sensors. As the sun rose, the robot finally rebooted. Amara leaned back in her chair, her eyes welling with relief. "This time, you won't let me down," she whispered to the robot. The day of the big demonstration arrived, and the Tesla lab buzzed with anticipation. Amara was exhausted from the all-nighter spent fixing her robot, but there was no time for rest. This was the moment she had been preparing for, and the stakes were higher than ever. Shortly after 10 a.m., a group entered the lab. At the center was Elon Musk, exuding his characteristic mix of curiosity and expectation. His sharp gaze scanned the room, pausing briefly on Amara's robot before shifting to her. Elon smiled faintly. "Amara, show me what you've got." The word sent a jolt through her, both of nerves and determination. This was the moment to prove herself not just to Elon, but to everyone watching. The crowd, including Tesla executives and senior engineers, gathered around her workstation. Amara stepped forward, her hands trembling slightly as she activated the robot's new interface. "Good morning, Mr. Musk, Tesla team." Her voice wavered for only a moment before gaining strength. "In the past few weeks, I've worked to transform my initial design into something that can make a real difference. This robot is no longer just a basic sorting machine. It's an intelligent system that learns and adapts to become more efficient with every task." She gestured to the robot, now larger, sleeker, and equipped with enhanced sensors and AI capabilities. It identifies materials in real time and categorizes them into 3 bins: recyclable, non-recyclable, and organic waste. Additionally, it can detect contamination and isolate toxic items. Elon nodded, motioning for her to begin. Amara initiated the test. The robot sprang to life, its mechanical arms scanning and sorting the first items from a prepared pile of waste. Plastic bottles went into the recyclable bin. Paper scraps and aluminum cans followed, all placed with precision. The crowd murmured with approval, but Amara stayed focused. The real test lay ahead. To push the system's limits, a particularly tricky item was introduced: a yogurt container with both recyclable plastic and organic residue. The robot hesitated, scanning the item multiple times. The room tensed as Amara clenched her fists, silently willing the robot to succeed. After a few seconds, the robot made its move. It separated the plastic from the residue and placed each component in the correct bins. The audience erupted in applause. Amara allowed herself a small smile, but then the unexpected happened. The system emitted a loud error sound, and the robot froze mid-task. A red warning light blinked on the control panel. The applause died down as murmurs rippled through the room. "What's happening?" someone whispered. Amara's heart sank, but she didn't panic. Years of troubleshooting in her garage had taught her to act quickly under pressure. She grabbed her tools and crouched beside the robot, her hands working methodically to identify the issue. The error code indicated an overheating motor, a flaw she had dealt with before. Sweat trickled down her forehead as she replaced the motor with a spare she had packed, her fingers moving deftly despite the tension. Richard, standing nearby, leaned over. "Need a hand?" Amara shook her head. "I've got this." Minutes that felt like hours passed, but she finally reassembled the motor and rebooted the system. The robot powered back on and completed the sorting task flawlessly. The room exploded into applause once more, louder than before. Elon Musk stepped forward, his expression unreadable at first. He inspected the robot closely, then turned to face Amara. "That's what I like to see," he said, his voice calm but with a clear note of approval. "Someone who doesn't quit when things go wrong." He addressed the room. Amara didn't just build a machine. She built a system that can learn, adapt, and solve real problems. That's the kind of innovation we need. Turning back to Amara, he added, "You've proven yourself. You've earned your place at Tesla. But more than that, I want to help you develop this into something that can change the world." Tears welled up in Amara's eyes as the audience gave her a standing ovation. All the late nights, the self-doubt, the relentless effort, it had all been worth it. After the presentation, Elon called a meeting to discuss the future of Amara's project. He projected a blueprint onto the screen, showing the design for a large-scale plant that would utilize her robot. "This is the next step," he said, "a pilot facility in Nevada. If this works, we can replicate it across the country and eventually worldwide." Amara stared at the blueprint, feeling a mix of excitement and intimidation. Scaling her small robot to handle industrial volumes was a monumental task. "I'll need help, Mr. Musk," she admitted. Elon smiled. "That's why you're here. You'll have the best minds and resources at your disposal. But remember, the vision is yours. Make it count." In Nevada, Amara faced her greatest challenges yet. As the pilot plant began operations, the system struggled to handle the sheer volume of waste. One morning, the plant manager burst into the control room. "The robot's overloaded again. We're losing hours of productivity." Amara rushed to assess the problem. The conveyor belts were clogged, and the robot couldn't keep up with the flow. Engineers muttered doubts about the project's feasibility. "This isn't ready for large-scale operations," one supervisor said. The words stung, but Amara refused to give up. That night, she stayed late at the plant, poring over data and recalibrating the system. She called Harris for advice. "Mr. Harris, I think I'm in over my head. Maybe they were right. Maybe I'm not cut out for this." His voice was steady. "Kiddo, remember why you started. You believe this robot could make a difference. Don't let anyone, not even yourself, tell you otherwise." Amara realized the problem wasn't the robot itself, but the lack of coordination between its components. With Richard's help, she developed a centralized control system inspired by Tesla's autonomous vehicle software. The new system adjusted the robot's speed and tasks dynamically based on input flow. When the revamped system went live, it performed better than anyone had expected. The plant's efficiency skyrocketed, and the doubters were silenced. Elon visited the plant to witness the results firsthand. After watching the robot in action, he turned to Amara. "You've done it again. But this is just the beginning. Let's take this global." The success of the Nevada pilot plant marked a turning point for Amara. The project, now officially branded as EcoMind, gained attention not only within Tesla, but also on a global scale. Media outlets hailed the initiative as a potential game-changer for waste management, and environmental organizations began discussing its transformative possibilities. However, the spotlight also brought scrutiny. Critics questioned whether EcoMind could truly be scaled to an industrial level. Some argued that the project was overly ambitious, highlighting logistical challenges and high costs. For Amara, these doubts were a painful reminder of how much more work remained to be done. Shortly after the Nevada plant's success, Elon Musk called a high-level meeting to chart the next phase of EcoMind's development. Amara found herself in Tesla's state-of-the-art boardroom, surrounded by executives and project leads. A large screen displayed a map of the United States, with several regions marked in red. "This," Elon began, gesturing to the map, "is where we take EcoMind next. I want pilot facilities in New York, Texas, and California. We'll refine the system in each location, adapting to regional waste management challenges. Once it's optimized, we'll scale globally." The room buzzed with excitement, but Amara felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on her. Scaling her robot to handle the complexities of multiple facilities would be a monumental task. "Mr. Musk," she said, her voice steady, "this will require significant upgrades to the system. The current design can't handle industrial-scale demands yet." Elon smiled faintly. "That's why you're here, Amara. You'll lead this effort, with the full support of Tesla's team. But remember, the vision is yours. Make it count." Even as plans for expansion progressed, the Nevada plant faced a crisis. With the facility now running at full capacity, a critical issue arose. The robot sorting system struggled with complex waste streams, leading to frequent slowdowns. One morning, the plant manager stormed into the control room. "The system's jammed again. We're losing hours of productivity." Amara rushed to the site to diagnose the problem. Conveyor belts were overflowing, and the robot couldn't keep up with the incoming volume of waste. Engineers muttered frustrations nearby. "This isn't ready for large-scale operations," one supervisor said bluntly. Amara felt the sting of those words, but refused to let them deter her. That night, she stayed at the plant, reviewing every aspect of the system. She called Harris, her mentor, seeking guidance. "Mr. Harris, I think I'm failing. Maybe they were right. Maybe I'm not ready for this." His voice was calm, but firm. "Amara, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. You've come this far because you believed in what you built. Don't let setbacks define you. Let them fuel you." Through sleepless nights of testing and analysis, Amara uncovered the root of the issue. The robot wasn't failing because of its design. It was being overloaded by inconsistent waste input. The solution wasn't just to improve the robot, but to optimize the entire system. She proposed adding a pre-sorting module equipped with basic sensors to filter out simpler materials before they reached the main robot. This approach would reduce the robot's workload and improve overall efficiency. Amara shared the idea with Richard and the engineering team. "If we split the workload into layers, the robot can focus on complex tasks while the pre-sorting module handles the simpler ones," she explained. Richard nodded thoughtfully. "That could work. Let's implement it immediately." With the new system in place, another demonstration was scheduled. This time, the audience included investors, environmental leaders, and representatives from state governments interested in adopting EcoMind for their waste management programs. Amara stood in the control room, watching as the updated system came to life. The pre-sorting module efficiently handled lightweight materials, directing them to appropriate bins. The robot, now freed from the excess workload, processed complex waste streams with remarkable precision. By the end of the demonstration, the plant had achieved a 99% accuracy rate. Applause filled the room as Amara exhaled a long breath of relief. Elon Musk approached her afterward, a rare, wide smile on his face. "You've done it, Amara. This is the breakthrough we needed. But don't stop now. I want you to think bigger. Let's take this to the world." With the Nevada pilot plant fully operational, Tesla began construction on facilities in Texas, New York, and California. Amara found herself traveling constantly, overseeing implementation and troubleshooting issues unique to each location. At the Texas plant, the challenge was processing agricultural waste mixed with industrial materials. In New York, space constraints required creative engineering solutions. Despite the hurdles, EcoMind consistently delivered results. However, with the expansion came increased scrutiny. Critics in the media questioned whether EcoMind's success in pilot plants could be replicated at a global scale. Within Tesla, some doubted whether Amara was the right person to lead such an ambitious initiative. One day, an email meant for another executive was accidentally sent to her. Its content stung deeply. Musk is betting too much on this girl. If this fails, it'll be a public disaster. Amara closed the email, her chest tightening. For all her progress, doubt still loomed over her. Despite the pressure, Amara refused to back down. She threw herself into the work, focusing on refining the system for maximum scalability. In one late-night brainstorming session, she had an epiphany. By integrating Tesla's autonomous vehicle AI into EcoMind, they could create a fully automated system capable of managing itself in real time. She presented the idea to Elon and the team the next morning. With this integration, the system will adjust dynamically to fluctuations in waste input, ensuring consistent performance no matter the volume, she explained. Elon nodded approvingly. Do it. Let's see what this system can really do. With the upgraded system in place, Tesla held a public demonstration at the Texas plant. Government officials, media outlets, and environmental leaders gathered to witness EcoMind in action. The system performed flawlessly, handling massive waste volumes with unprecedented speed and accuracy. Amara watched from the control room as the audience erupted into applause. Elon Musk approached her, a rare glint of pride in his eyes. This is what innovation looks like, Amara. You've taken something small and turned it into a solution the world can't ignore. For Amara, the journey from a small-town garage to leading a global initiative had been long and grueling. But as she stood there, watching EcoMind redefine waste management, she knew every struggle had been worth it. The Nevada demonstration had been a success, and EcoMind was now hailed as a breakthrough in waste management technology. Tesla's announcement of the project's expansion to New York, Texas, and California generated global excitement. Media outlets covered Amara's journey from her humble garage to the cutting-edge labs of Tesla. Environmental groups praised the initiative as a potential game-changer, while governments worldwide expressed interest in adopting the technology. Yet, with all the praise came relentless scrutiny. Critics questioned whether EcoMind could maintain its efficiency and scalability at a global level. Others doubted Amara's ability to lead such an ambitious project, calling her inexperienced and too reliant on Tesla's resources. Amara, however, remained undeterred. She had overcome doubts before, and she would do so again. With the initial pilot plants fully operational, the next step was global expansion. Tesla announced plans for facilities in Europe and Asia, and Amara found herself leading an international team of engineers. Each region brought unique challenges. Waste types differed significantly, infrastructure varied, and cultural attitudes toward recycling required tailored approaches. In Germany, the emphasis was on precision engineering to match the country's high environmental standards. In India, the focus shifted to creating a cost-effective solution that could handle large amounts of organic waste. Amara adapted quickly, often spending weeks in each location, working alongside local engineers and refining the system for maximum efficiency. Despite the grueling travel and sleepless nights, she thrived under pressure, driven by the vision of making EcoMind a global standard. But not everything was smooth. During an expansion meeting at Tesla's Palo Alto headquarters, one executive raised concerns about the mounting costs of the project. Amara, we've invested millions into EcoMind. Are you confident it can meet the scale we need? Her response was steady. EcoMind has proven itself in every pilot facility we've launched. Yes, there are challenges, but every one of them has been met with a solution. We're not just building a product, we're building a future. The room went quiet. Elon Musk, seated at the head of the table, broke the silence with a nod. That's why I trust her to lead this. Let's move forward. Months later, the first international EcoMind plant was inaugurated in Germany. The launch event attracted world leaders, environmental activists, and international media. Amara stood on stage beside Elon, addressing the crowd. EcoMind started as an idea in my garage. Today, it's a global initiative that proves innovation can come from anywhere. Our goal is simple: to redefine how the world manages waste and create a sustainable future for generations to come. The applause was deafening. Amara felt a wave of emotion as she realized the magnitude of what she had achieved. The German facility performed beyond expectations, processing waste with 99.9% accuracy and setting a new benchmark for industrial recycling. Over the next year, additional plants were launched in India, Japan, and Brazil, each tailored to the region's specific needs. As EcoMind's impact grew, so did Amara's fame. She received invitations to speak at global summits and universities, was named one of Time magazine's most influential innovators, and even found herself on the cover of Forbes. Despite the accolades, she remained grounded. During an interview, a journalist asked her what kept her motivated despite the challenges. "The world is full of problems that feel insurmountable," she replied. "But I believe solutions come from people who refuse to give up." EcoMind isn't just a robot. It's proof that anyone can make a difference if they dare to try. Amara's journey eventually brought her back to her small hometown. On a quiet afternoon, she stood in the very garage where it all began. The space looked different now, emptier without the piles of scrap and her makeshift workbench. But the memories were vivid. Her mentor, Harris, stopped by to visit. "Quite a journey, huh?" he said, his voice filled with pride. Amara smiled. "I couldn't have done it without you, Mr. Harris. You believed in me when no one else did." He chuckled. "All I did was show you a few tricks. The rest was you, kiddo. Don't forget that." Back at Tesla, Elon Musk gathered his team to discuss EcoMind's future. With the project operating successfully across multiple continents, the focus shifted to making the system even more accessible, affordable, and sustainable. During the meeting, Elon turned to Amara. "What's next?" Amara smiled, her mind already racing with ideas. "I think we've just scratched the surface. There's still so much we can do to tackle global waste issues. Let's keep pushing the limits." Elon nodded. "That's what I like to hear. Let's make it happen." At a global conference years later, Amara delivered a speech that resonated with millions. EcoMind is more than a technological innovation. It's a symbol of what's possible when determination meets opportunity. My story isn't unique. There are countless others with ideas that can change the world, waiting for a chance. To them, I say, don't wait for permission. Start now. The world needs you. The audience erupted in applause, but for Amara, the moment wasn't about recognition. It was about inspiring others to take their first steps, just as she had done in her garage all those years ago. Though EcoMind had transformed waste management globally, Amara knew her work was far from finished. Challenges still loomed, but she welcomed them with the same passion that had driven her from the start. As she walked off the stage, Elon Musk caught up with her. "You know, Amara, you've proven something important. Innovation doesn't have limits. Keep going. The world needs more minds like yours." Amara smiled. "I won't stop. This is just the beginning." And with that, the girl who started with nothing but a dream and a pile of scrap metal set off for her next challenge, ready to build a future the world had yet to imagine.